Hey everybody, this is Joseph Pasek of FiredUp Network. We're going to be joined by Norm Rumack here in just a second. He had a technical difficulty, so he'll join us in a couple seconds. Welcome to Rumack and the Greek. Norm Rumack's going to be on. He's coming in right now. Norm, okay, there you go, Norm.
There
Just
we go.
start off the show. I don't know what you had. You had a technical glitch there. But welcome everyone to Rumack and the Greek here on the Fired Up Network. We'll hopefully be joined by the grizzled young veteran Marty Roberts. Billy is away. He'll hopefully be back next Monday. But Norm, some big news just off the top right now. I know we're going to get to it, Game 7, but the Raptors ex-coach Nick Nurse goes from Pascal Siakam to Fred VanVleet to the MVP Joel Embiid. He's the new coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, he proved when he was in Toronto when he had the guys he needed, obviously, he was able to win a championships. And, Toronto, a championship, sorry, not plural. And obviously they've got some elite talent in there in Philly. They haven't been able to get over the hump, in terms of going to a final. So I think he'd be a good fit there, in terms of, sharpening, the mentality and the physicality of Embiid and the rest of the team. And I think that's a good hire for Philadelphia, Joe. Who knows what happens in the offseason? It's tough at the upper end of the Eastern Conference, Joe, as you know, with the NBA. You look at the Celtics, myself included. I mean, I don't know about you, but I thought they were toast. And here they are. We'll talk about it more in depth. Verge of Game 7, Derek White going down, as a Celtic legend now with that putback, Hollywood couldn't have scripted that any better. It's incredible. It's incredible. They're kind of like channeling, Joe, the 2004 Red Sox. Remember down 3-0 to the Yankees?
Yeah, and coming back to win. Yep.
Yeah, no, that's not won yet, right? They still have to win it. But if they pull that off tonight, holy smokes, that'll go down as one of the most, in any sport, classic series for all time. I mean, I was talking about it with our good friend Alex Campbell last week when he was on, and they were down 3-0. We thought, myself, Alex, I'm sure everybody else is like, okay, win a game maybe, but win the series? Now, they haven't won it yet. And, let's be fair to Miami. I mean, they had to get into a play-in game with Chicago just to get in to the mainstream playoffs. So they deserve a lot of praise, but I mean, I know there's an NHL game, of course, tonight to see if
they win could go to 7 games also from 3-0.
Yeah, but I think, you have to pick and choose. I mean, you can always record. I don't know. You just watch the highlights later. But I'm going to be tuning in that Celtics game because, if you want it to be like the all-time classic of all time, you hope it goes to overtime, like double overtime, and someone hits on a buzzer beater to put it away.
Yeah,
it's like, but boy, you got to give Boston a lot of credit, man. They just look completely lost after Game 3. Their defense wasn't up to standards. They were having trouble hitting their 3-point shots, in the volume that they need. I mean, what a turnaround, Joe. It's incredible.
Great turn. And just getting back for 1 second, Norm, Philadelphia they lose a doctor, but they get a nurse.
Wow.
Come on, Doc Rivers was the coach. They lose a doctor, but they get a nurse. So maybe the nurse is better than the doctor. You never know because I think get him over the top.
Yeah, but Doc Rivers is highly respected. Yeah. He was remember when he played for the Knicks, for God's sakes. This is quite a while ago, 20 years probably or more. But no, he's widely respected. He's a good person, good coach, and sometimes. Even with coaches, it's a matter of timing. I mean, okay, so you look at what Paul Maurice has done, and he got let go by the Maple Leafs, and he took a kind of not a retirement, but a timeout from Winnipeg. Yeah. So does that mean he wasn't a great, or he's not a good coach, a great coach? Look what he's doing with Florida. They were on the verge of missing the playoffs, right? Exactly. And it's like sometimes you got to be. It's the right place, the right time, and that's true. For a lot of us in a lot of careers, it's time. I was at the Fan at the right place, the right time when they were starting. So I got my break, and the Alan Davis happened to like the way I sounded, right? So that's, a lot of careers for a lot of us, Joe, no matter what you do. I mean, unless you're a brain surgeon or something like that, where it's like there's no question, you know, you're in demand and it's a rare field or an astronaut or something. But other than that, for most of us, you got to be good, but you got to be lucky, and you got to be at the right place at the right time. And there's another example of it.
It's better to be lucky than good sometimes, like they say, right? So,
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to give a slight edge to the Celtics tonight. I just think that they're just on this roll. They know what they'd have to do defensively now to cover off Miami. Their defense was kind of slow and sloppy in the first three games. They fixed that up, and now they've discovered their shooting legs. And like I say, I mean, ideally, because I mean, led by Jimmy Butler, Miami's been a Cinderella story. If you want justice, so to speak, justice to both teams in terms of the way it plays out, it would be great if it went to overtime or double overtime, right down to the last shot of the game. And what more could you want, right?
so now let me ask you this, because Miami's coach Eric Spoelstra, known as a great coach, right?
Yeah.
Dare I say it? If they lose after leading 3 games to none, do you think he's let go? Because if he is, you saw your jury better jump on the call and hire him right away.
Well, we'll see. Masai has his, I don't know what his thinking is right now, but I'll tell you what my thinking is. I was so anxious to get into to discuss all this with the Celtics, and we'll continue discussing the Heat, but I didn't even mention our sponsors. Billy's going to pull my ears off. Billy Georgitsakis, as you mentioned off the top, he's working tonight. Like most of us, all of us, we have full-time jobs, right? We do this for fun and for a little bit of extra coin. And speaking of the coin, thanks to our great sponsors, COSA, Standardbred Horse Racing Association of Ontario, and Nikki, the king of carpets. They're the reason that we're here. So I wanted to give them a little bit of love right off the top. As I mentioned, Billy is working tonight. So that's why he's not here. And a lot of our American friends, Joe will give a shout out to our American friends. It's Memorial Day, so that's why some of our regulars who ordinarily might be on can't be on because they're celebrating with their friends and family. So happy Memorial Day to all of our friends in the States, Joe.
Well, Norm, first of all, you don't say happy Memorial Day. It's Memorial Day weekend. There's nothing happy about Memorial Day. That's number one. That's what I was told by your good friend, the Hall of Famer, John Freeman Nelson. So
Well,
it's
yeah.
not Happy Memorial Day. It's just
No, but
Memorial
you can honor the occasion of Memorial Day and still have yourself a happy day. That's what I'm saying. Like because it's a holiday, right?
Fonzarelli. Okay, Fonzarelli. So, anyways, I'll just say Memorial Day weekend. Everybody, enjoy your Memorial Day weekend in the States and everything like that. I know Memorial Day sort of starts the summer. Look at the guns are out with Norm there. It's about 25, 26 degrees here in Toronto. It's going to be like that all week here. And we got a great basketball game 7 tonight. So you're calling Boston, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go for my dream kind of finish. I'm gonna go for Boston in 2 overtimes. How's that? What's your call, Joe?
Into for like I said, I'm really hoping Boston wins so they could fire the coach Spoelstra and then the Raptors call. But honestly, it's going to be determined by defense. Miami, we have to talk about this. Game 6, the last second, the putback. Where was the defense of Miami? Where was the spreads? Where was everything? Because they were leading 103-102. They came back. Miami came back furious, and they were at home, and everybody thought, okay, we won. But kudos to Boston. Now, Boston coming back from 3-0, playing at home. Look at the momentum you're going to get at home. I think, realistically, Boston's probably going to win and going to make a story, but I don't think they're going to beat Denver in the NBA Finals. But that's besides the point. I'll say Boston, and I don't think it's going to go overtime. It's going to be a close game, maybe 5-6 points, Boston victory. And Tatum and Brown are going to finally get over the top. Now, the question is, for those who don't know, doesn't matter what happens, Thursday is game 1 in Denver. Thursday, game 1 in Denver. Again, between Boston or Miami and the Denver Nuggets. And Jokic and Jamal Murray, the Canadian, get a week off. And boy, do they need a week off, put it that way.
Well, sometimes, Joe, we talk about that a lot in terms of, like, for example, the Super Bowl, right? The amount of time before till you qualify, and then before you play the game. So for injured guys, obviously it's a blessing. But for guys who aren't injured, we all talk about sometimes guys might prefer to that they wish they had one game, because you get a little bit, your timing's a little bit off, you can be a little bit rusty. So I don't know if the guys, unless they're hurt, if they want a week off. I think they want, ideally 2 or 3 days off, and then they're ready. But listen, better a week off than no time off, or hardly any time off, that's for sure, because this time of year in every team sport, a lot of injuries we don't find out till after the series is over, right? And just to get back to your comment about Spoelstra, look, I know you're kind of joking about the Raptors aren't Spoelstra is going to be a Miami Heat coach or in the organization for life. Pat Riley kind of, prepared him, trained him. He started as a video assistant. He's a brilliant, brilliant coach. And Joe, even if Miami didn't scored only 30 points tonight, Spoelstra is not going anywhere. As they say in New York, Joe, forget about it.
All right, that should be good. And again, the NBA Finals begin Thursday in Denver. It's either Boston or Miami, and we're both calling Boston. And next week we'll probably talk about maybe Game 3 or the 2 games prior. Just let's go with a sneak peek. If it is Boston, you calling Denver, right?
Well, I'd give Denver. You know what? I could see Boston with the confidence they've gained. And let's face it, it's not like they're new to the playoffs. I mean, this team's got some history. Put it this way. Right now, I might be inclined to give Denver a slight edge and say Denver in 7. But I think Boston's going to, if they win tonight.
Well, we lost Norm for a second here. Hopefully Norm comes back here. He was saying, maybe Boston probably in 6. Denver in 6, maybe takes it to 6-7 games, but Norm is back here. Hold on, Norm.
Did you miss me, Jane?
No, I never missed you. I never missed you. By the way, did you get me my Starbucks or what? Anyways,
no, go ahead. I got my second cup, Joe. Come on.
The second.
Spread the love around.
All right. So go ahead.
But anyway,
about Boston and then Denver 6 games.
So I'm picking. Yeah, as I faded away into the wilderness, I was going to go with Denver in 7. But let's face it, the way Boston's, Joe, as we know, all of us know, since we were little kids, it's not always the best team that wins. That happens a lot. Sometimes a team that's hot, like in hockey, you got a hot goalkeeper, right? In baseball, you got a red hot pitcher or a hitter, whatever. Yeah. Doesn't have to be. I mean, were Seattle better than the Blue Jays last year? No, but they were better in those 2-game playoffs, right? Their bullpen, at least.
Well, we'll talk about the Blue Jays also. By the way, speaking about Denver, I don't know if you know this. I know, Norm, you don't talk about lacrosse, but I'm going to go into it right now. They're in the National Lacrosse League Championship Final, Game 2, best 2 out of 3, Buffalo Bandits and Colorado. Colorado's leading in Colorado today, 14-8 with about 8 minutes left. That means if they win, it will be 1-1 heading to Game 3 in Buffalo there. Colorado Mammoth won last year, beating Buffalo, so this is a rematch of last year's National Lacrosse League Cup. I know you don't talk, but, here at the Fired Up Network, I talk about everything. In fact, Norm, I'm going to throw you a curveball. We're going to talk about, guess what? Chelsea has a new manager. Billy,
that's right.
This. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, very quickly, it's not a big secret, Joe. It's been like, we know they've been talking with him. He was basically had signed a deal probably 2-3 weeks ago. But yeah, Mauricio Pochettino of Argentinian lineage, former manager at Tottenham, former manager at Espanyol in Spain. He's got the job, and
habla español aquí. Habla español.
Yo hablo un poquito español, Joe, and considering...
Say something else in Spanish. If you talk a little bit, come on, give me something else.
Well, it's been, Joe, it's been about, more than 50 years since I studied Spanish. So I know a few words. I used to work at a summer camp.
You know all the bad words, okay?
Yeah. Some of the kids at summer camp taught me the bad words. They were from Mexico, so...
All right.
The bad words were in reference to me, so that's
Yeah.
how
So
I
let's not talk about that. But
know.
how do you think yeah, Mauricio's going to do with Chelsea next year?
Well, obviously, they're not in the Champions League, which will be a bit of a blessing in disguise because they've got a lot of young players and they need to get the guys playing, the right mentality with the right consistency. And Pochettino is a brilliant strategist. He plays an exciting brand, offensive brand. He's going to demand elite levels of fitness. And I think the potential is really exciting because his Tottenham team in 2019, they made the Champions League final. They lost to Liverpool 2-0, but they made it. I mean, it's not easy. Chelsea won in 2021, but it's not easy to get there. Like we said, not you don't only got to be good, you got to be lucky too, right? But Pochettino is noted for doing great work with young players, and Chelsea has a lot of good young players. Some who haven't, shown everything that they can do just yet. But Benoit Badiashile, he suffered a hamstring injury. We got him from France. He's a French national. He got injured, but he looks like he's going to be a good one amongst our defenders. Noni Madueke, he was playing yesterday, played brilliantly against Newcastle. He's an attacking winger, can maybe perform like a striker, but he's aggressive. His hero was Didier Drogba, which tells you, obviously it's a good hero to have. Kind of a fearless attacker. And Noni looked good. He's looked good in every game that he's played, the last 4 or 5 games. So we're excited about him. And we've got the captain of Brazil's under-20 team or under-21 team. That's Andre Santos. And we've got the captain of Italy's. They're playing in the under-21 World Cup right now. So Andre Santos from Brazil. And we got young Mr. Casade of Italy. He's captain of the Azzurri under-21 team. So he's a Chelsea man. So we've got a lot of we'll see Mikhail Mudryk, obviously, he's got tremendous speed. He has to refine his skills. It was hard to come here in the midst of a terrible war going on in his home country in the Ukraine. And, there was a lot of talk. He was originally going to go to Arsenal. So he was in the spotlight, a lot of pressure. Joao Felix, I'm not sure if he's staying with us because he was on loan or he may go back to Atletico Madrid. It's a big ticket cost for Chelsea to try and buy him, but maybe they'll renew him on loan. An exciting player, needs a little work on finishing his chances, but he creates chances. So there's a lot of good young, of course, if we can keep Reece James and Ben Chilwell healthy and happy. I mean, they're happy, but got to keep them healthy. That was a devastating series of injuries those two have had, which really hurt Chelsea because they're elite national, especially Reece James. Might be the best player in the world at his position. And other players on other teams will tell you that. And Ben Chilwell certainly is an elite player. It remains to be seen if Mason Mount's going to re-up with Chelsea. He may not. He may go to Manchester United, so we'd be sorry to lose him. But they've got to trim their budget because they brought in so many players in the January window. They can't keep everybody. They're going to make some big moves and some tough decisions. But am I excited about Mauricio Pochettino? Absolutely. I think every Chelsea supporter is. And I think if anybody can turn them around, get them back to playing the way they were previous 20 years for the most part, he'd be the guy. So very happy about that. I'm sure Enzo Fernandez, of course, from the Argentine national team, our midfielder, great addition. He's only 22. He must be thrilled as all heck to have Mauricio Pochettino as his manager, especially. And they're going to fix up and add some midfield strength. And maybe N'Golo Kante renews for 1 year. That would be a big help because he's the best in the world at his position when he's healthy. So there's my quick summation of Chelsea.
And here's just another special shout out. You mentioned the FIFA under-21 playing in Argentina right now. Israel getting the second round, that's big for Israel. And you know why I'm talking about that. That is huge for Israel. So congratulations to Israel there in the under-21s. Also, since we're talking a little football or soccer, Norm, you see the mess TFC is created. They bring over the Italians here, the best players on the team, and basically they berate the coach, even though they come up big and get a victory on Saturday. But it's simply a mess with the Leafs, mess with the Raptors, mess with TFC, mess with the Jays. We'll talk about the Jays. Like, what's going on in Toronto sports?
Yeah, well, it's a bad time. I wasn't just because I've had full-time work and the series we've been talking about, and then we got to talk about the Leafs and their mess, conflict of interest being investigated. With the agent, for Austin Matthews and
Dubas,
the former GM Kyle Dubas. I mean, how does that happen? So that's something we got to look at as well. And is Austin going to re-up? And that depends who the GM is. There's all kinds of kind of potential turmoil there, but we'll get to that. But I wasn't quite familiar with what had gone on with TFC, just because I just only have so many minutes and hours in the day. But anyway, but in general, you're right. It's other than the Argos, right? I
mean, congratulations, the Argos. New jersey, new helmet. And the jersey looked really cool. Helmets. And the Argos' last preseason game at BMO Field happens on Thursday against Hamilton. So good luck to the Argos this year. They're the reigning, defending Grey Cup champions. All right.
Yeah. Well, so some things in Toronto have gone well. Got to give them a little bit of love, right? Yeah. That's proper. So anyway, I don't know what'll happen, but boy, Toronto FC has gone way down from where they used to be. What was it? I remember, I was working with you, and I was at that champ that when they won when they lost the title at home to Seattle. Remember that that was bizarre. I mean, it was shocking to the fans. They lost on penalties, right? But anyway, they since won a championship, and they were a pretty elite squad. And then things gradually started to deteriorate, and not been very good. What, for 3-4 years now, Joe?
3-4 years, and at the height when you were talking 16, 17, TFC was packed BMO Field, freezing cold, warm weather. They Jose Altidore and Javenko and they were winning. Remember, TFC won. Okay, then the Marlies won, and the general manager was Dubas. All right, then the Raptors won 3 back-to-back years. Toronto teams winning championships. We haven't seen that in a long, long time, and hopefully they could come back with, who knows, the Raptors, who are they going to have as the new coach there, and let's talk about the Maple Leafs here, and there's a lot of news, and I'm gonna say it. We'll talk about this, Austin Matthews with Dubas and all that, but apparently Dubas is in Pittsburgh, and he's talking the Pittsburgh Penguins, not only being the general manager, being the president. So
well, that was rumored even before he got dismissed. There were people talking, well, he doesn't have to worry because if the Leafs don't keep him, the Penguins will hire him real quick. A lot of people were saying that, well before the story became official, or he had that falling out with Brendan Shanahan over his press conference just after the Leafs got knocked out, right? So, I wouldn't be surprised he gets the Penguins job, but it remains to be seen who do the Leafs get. I think the Leafs this time around, Joe, I'm not going on any advanced knowledge. I would guess, Shanahan will be looking for a very experienced guy and someone who can, try and work things out with Austin Matthews, because that's the guy, obviously, if he decides not to re-up with the Leafs, then they better. I think they've got no choice, Joe. They would have to strongly consider moving him at the upcoming NHL draft, because that's their best chance to maximize right at the draft what they can get in return. All these young players, teams that have draft picks to give up or might be inclined to give up a couple of top draft picks and some current players and some prospects, right? That's where, if the Leafs sense they're flirting with danger and losing Austin, then, better. I hope they would have an experienced GM who knows, he's like playing like a good poker player, knows how to make a smart deal and, knows how to work. Yeah, I think it's really essential, Joe. You need someone who knows all the other GMs and all the other clubs and has a good working relationship, because I think that's necessary to get a good deal. And you got to know the teams that you're dealing with and what they have and what they don't have, Joe.
Well, here's the interesting thing. They talked to Brad Treliving, also former Calgary Flames. And Craig Conroy got the jobs with the Flames. But the most interesting guy, and it just came out yesterday, Doug Wilson there. Of course, San Jose, and he's been a staple with San Jose. Now he's let go, but he's been a staple. That's the most interesting name I have heard of with the Maple Leafs GM role.
I think he could do a good job. He was a great player in his day, mostly with the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yep.
I think he understands the game. I think he's respected. I think that could be a really good fit.
And
San Jose had a nice, as you remember, Joe,
yep.
Almost right from their birth, so to speak, in 1994. They had those great playoff runs. They almost knocked out the Maple Leafs. Remember that?
They hit the crossbar.
For those of us who were around, it was a crossbar shot, right?
Yep. Crossbar, yep.
Yeah. And then they knocked out Detroit when they were struggling before they got over the top. And, they've had some struggles recently, but I'll tell you, that's one of, we're seeing what Seattle Kraken have done. But I'll tell you what, San Jose right out of the gate, that's been one of the best stories in NHL history, how they got started, and they maintain an excellent, and they're a very popular club in that part of California, very popular team.
And on that note, 30 years, we just passed it a couple days ago, 30 years with the high stick on Gilmore from Gretzky, and I don't have to tell you what happened, Kerry Fraser and all that, but 30 years ago that was. But yeah, San Jose with especially, and Doug Wilson was the architect of the San Jose teams and all that. And we mentioned San Jose because now came out that Carl Dubas had a trade already done for Erik Karlsson, and it was kiboshed by Brendan Shanahan. A lot of
and what was the alleged reason that Shanahan didn't like it?
He didn't give a reason. It's much like some guys who they don't like it. They don't need to give a reason. He's ahead of you. Well, I'm not going to do it. Right. I think you know who I'm talking with that one. But he and Erik Karlsson he had basically a Norris Trophy year. I don't have to tell you that. He would fit perfectly with the Maple Leafs. And now there are rumors going around, and I think it's going to be a mistake. You talked about Matthews and trading or whatever, but right now it's very hot. Rumors persist that they're trading, or he's on the block, Mitch Marner to Carolina. So what?
Well, part of the dilemma for Toronto, Joe, is Austin Matthews is going to want the absolute max. What's the max now? 12? Like, what's the most you can play one play? 12?
He wants 14 to 15 million.
Okay. Well, so that means at least one guy off your top four has to go bye-bye to allow for the cap space. Otherwise, who else? They're not going to have hardly any money left for anybody else, right? He's going to get that much.
If I ask you this, Mitch Marner.
I'm not knocking him as a player, but he's a great player. But I'm just saying, how else do the Leafs make the kind of cap space so they can offer at least Matthews the absolute max?
So, no, I agree with you. But would you, if let's say, Nylander, Tavares, Matthews, Marner?
Oh, no, if it was up to me, I'd move Nylander. He's coming off his, a career year, right?
What's going on with Matthews? Would you still keep Matthews here?
Well, look, if he'll stay for the max, that's what we don't know. In other words, he was saying, well, if Dubas was here, he'll stay. He didn't say why, because I'm guessing Dubas, and also that's where the conflict of interest. Oh, same agent. So you imagine Austin Matthews' agent, Kyle Dubas' agent. Oh, Kyle, listen, buddy, can you do me a favor? I'm exaggerating a bit, but probably maybe not that much. Maybe he say something like, Kyle, listen, Austin's important for you. He's my top client. I'm just saying, I don't know that would go on, but that's where there was or is potential for conflict of interest. And maybe, I'm saying maybe, underline maybe Austin Matthews felt confident that because they've got the same agent and, Dubas, Dubas is the guy that, if I ask, maybe he feels and his agent feels, if I ask Dubas, I want 15, it'll be a done deal. So maybe that's why Austin was quoted as saying something along the line, if Kyle's there, then I'll be there. Yeah. That's basically what he said, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, no, he did say that.
So if I'm the next GM of the Leafs, I'd want to know from the outset, okay, if I give him the max, is he staying for sure, no matter what? That's the first thing. So you got to know, or Is he not sure because, well, a new GM, or he's disappointed because Dubas, or he's disappointed because his agent also represents it? It's quite it's a little bit of a mess, Joe. So the next GM, whoever they're going to hire, they got to figure that out quickly. And then if their strategy is pay Austin the max, biggest contract allowed, then, okay, well, we got to really fix up our salary cap situation. That means at least one. And I mean, I'd be inclined, just because of his age, to move Tavares. But, other teams, how many teams can take on his contract at his age? That would be question number one, Joe.
The Leafs got to pay at least 50 to 60% of that $11 million contract. So we're talking about $6-7 million that the Leafs have to play and the other team plays for, or something like that. So.
Well, or they talked, there was who was it? We were talking about this last week, Joe, was saying that the Leafs could pay another team to pick up some of pay. They could trade picks to another team. A lot of teams do that now, or some teams do it. Trade draft picks to another team for them to pick up some of the Leafs' salary cap from from Tavares, right? But how many picks they have left?
They got 3 picks for this year. 3 picks.
Well, so, yeah. And, are any of them first or second rounders? I just don't know.
Then I think one's a 5th and a 7th.
Well, okay, the first round pick maybe, would be let's face it, the Leafs aren't going to be finishing in last place. So the first round pick is not going to be a lottery pick, right? We know that.
Yeah.
So there may not be enough in that. And so now the Leafs are a little bit tight with all the draft picks they gave up. They don't have that many to offer.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So that's what, and who, honestly, Norm, who would take the GM? Like, being the GM of the Maple Leafs is like the Yankees, Cowboys. But really, do you want to be GM of the Maple Leafs knowing? Well,
sure. I'll say yes, Joe, because no matter what happens, you've got it on your record. You did your best you could they're not going to hire just anybody, right? They're going to hire someone who, like I say, more than likely has got some experience. So even doesn't go as well as you want. Oh, well, it was a high-profile job, high-pressure job. The guy came in under tough circumstances, did the best that he could. That's like a once-in-a-lifetime, Joe. You got to take it. Even if it doesn't go well, you take it, man. It's a big part of league and hockey history. So you take on that responsibility, and you, like all these guys, they're like elite athletes. They're all it's like, yeah, I can do that job. Why can't? I'll prove it. They're not going to run away from it.
All right.
I mean, it's high pressure, but so what? Everything in sports is high pressure. Hey, Joe, we should probably give a little love.
That's what I'm saying. We're going to go to our second intermission. Okay, second intermission with a little bit of love for Nikki and Kosa, and we're going to have the Kosa Classic here. And then, Norm, you could go out and get me a coffee or something like that. And when we come back, we'll continue this and say congratulations to Team Canada winning the World Hockey Championship. And congratulations. Did you see today what's going on in Latvia? They won the bronze medal, and there's millions and millions of people out there celebrating it in Latvia. So here is right now. Go ahead. Sorry, Norm.
Yeah, good for them, and congratulations. Nice to see some other countries emerging in hockey. I mean, Latvia's been there, not a superpower, but no, it's good for the sport. It's good for the sport that people in other countries get excited about the game, or have that kind of excitement and that kind of celebration. Good for them. Congratulations. It's great to hear, and congratulations to our guys, too.
All right, so I'm going to go through it to the Kosa Classic and followed by Carpets for Life. Here,
Nicky, the king of carpets, Joe. He is the king. There's only one Nicky, king of carpets,
and
Joe.
I hear he likes the Montreal Canadiens, so maybe we could.
Not you hear. He does, man. He does. He's you know what? He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, Joe. So there.
Well, so are you, Norm. Here is Kosa Classic.
Den. Here comes Western Dreamer with a rush on the far outside. J.K. Outlaw gets away in 5th, followed by Arturo. Next in line, Western Hero, Ryan's Miracle, and the 9, too funny for words. First 4 hub to the quarter-mile pole. Parsons Den wheels them by there. Wow, 26-1. Flying past the stands to the half-mile pole. Here's Western Dreamer up on the outside, challenging Parsons Den for the lead. This is a total war right now. 5/8 of a mile to pace. Western Dreamer clears, goes on, opens up 2. Parsons Den will now attack from second. Around the lower turn, Lasting Jeff. followed by Gifted Cowboy. J.K. Outlaw comes to the outside. Arturo is ready to sing. Next in line comes Western Hero. Too funny for words in the gray. Ryan's Miracle. Look at that, folks. 53-4 down the backstretch. Western Dreamer trying to get a desperate breather from Mike LaChance. But here comes the wave on the outside, led by J.K. Outlaw. Parsons Den digs down deep. Arturo sweeping wide for the drive. The track record 151-1. Flying now 122-3. Western Dreamer opens up a commanding lead. Western Dreamer opens up 4 lengths. Followed by Parsons Den. Arturo on the far outside. J.K. Outlaw between horses. Here comes Western Hero with a lot of work to do. Mike LaChance under confident handling still has Western Dreamer on top. But here comes Arturo. J.K. Outlaw between horses. Arturo, Western Dreamer, Arturo!
And what a...
Now, you know the name KOSA TV, an industry leader producing unique, high-quality digital content promoting harness racing in Ontario. Features, virtual programming, live events, and more. KOSA TV has it covered. Follow our social media channels and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page to view the latest content. And if you're looking to bet your favorite Ontario track, check out hpibet.com. KOSA TV, taking Ontario racing global.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Storm and Arm Rumack, Billy the Greek, the one and only Billy Georgitsakis. He's off this week. He's got his own full-time work to do. So he'll be back next week.
Better hair. Look, I did my eyebrows for this occasion. Everything like that.
Wow.
Yeah, look.
Have you got? Did you put on your moisturizer like my buddy Billy does?
Well, Norm, he gave me, since I'm sort of co-hosting it. Look, he gave me you don't see it here. 1 second. There it is. You see that? He gave me so I'm using it. He said I don't give that to Rumack. Come on, he moisture. Look at the skin, man. Come on. All right, Norm. Enough with this. So we were.
All right. So
go ahead.
Yeah, we got to talk, Joe. A little Toronto Blue Jays. So look, right now they're already am I right? 10 games back of my Tampa Bay Rays, who've got off to an incredible start, and they're still. They haven't gone on any big slumps. That's amazing. Yeah, they lose a couple of games here and there, but the Blue Jays are 2-8 in their last 10, and it's like, Joe, we're at the end of May. I mean, it's not the beginning of the season anymore. We're a month away, 6 weeks away from the All-Star break. So, Manoah hasn't been able to do what we expected him to do. Use that confidence and that kind of like macho confidence that and it hasn't shown up in the games and. As we've seen some sloppy play occasionally. What kind of change, if any, and how long is our Shapiro and company going to wait? Is it time to make a change, or do they wait to the All-Star break if they're still within 8 to 10 games of the top?
Well, that was a question we talked about, myself and Marty Roberts here, a friend of the show, a couple of days ago, and we both talked about maybe giving 10 to 2 weeks. And if they're still in this slump, something has to happen. Me and Marty talked about the one consistent in this Blue Jays thing for 2-3 years has been the pitching coach, Pete Walker. They changed the hitting coach. They got Don Mattingly as a bench coach. They fired their manager and all that. But one consistency was Pete Walker. Do you get rid of Pete Walker, put in a new pitching coach? Do you get rid of Atkins, somebody upstairs, maybe Shapiro? Because they spent, and I don't have to tell you, they went over the budget here and got, players and all that. Plus, they renovated the Rogers Center $300 million to start. So they're expecting crowds in August, in September, to be in contention, go to the playoffs, win a playoff series. Because last year, yes, they were a wild card team and they lost it to Seattle. They want to go one step further. They're not going to get first place. They're not getting first place no matter if they go on a 20-game win streak. They're still not going to get first place. So that means they're battling for the wild card. In the American League East, bigger story, maybe I should ask you. Okay, Blue Jays not where they want to be, but the bigger story is not the Tampa Bay Rays, is Baltimore right on the heels of Tampa.
Well, but Joe, you consider the turnaround we saw last year from Baltimore, right? And I'm not going to speak for Billy, but I'm certainly not surprised. We saw them going in the right direction. And, here and there, you'd hear people like Buck Martinez comment about, and other of our regular guests, they've got some great young prospects, and they've been rebuilding, Joe, for a long time. I mean, based on what Baltimore showed last year, I don't think it's that big of a surprise. But the big story could be, unless the Red Sox have picked it up, a little bit lately, and unless one of those teams in front of them, let's say, I don't know, the Yankees, they're prone to injuries, a bit of an older club. Tampa Bay, geez, I know Billy hates me saying this, but the truth is, Tampa Bay last year they had horrific injuries. So third to fifth lowest payroll. They lose players every year, and every year they're a handful to deal with. And there they are, a record-setting start they tied the record and broke the record, Major League Baseball, for starts to the season after a certain number of games. And they haven't really dropped off. They lose a few games here and there, but they haven't gone on an extended slump. So the point is, the Jays, Joe, could maybe straighten out their problems. But here's the problem, Joe. Because of the balanced schedule where you play everybody and you lose divisional games, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but the Jays within the AL East right now are 5-15. Am I right?
Yeah.
5-15. And they won't see Tampa and the Yankees. Am I correct to what? August, September?
Yeah.
Actually, Yankees and Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Unless they slump, how do you catch up?
They don't. That's why I said winning first place, it's impossible. Now, they won't get first place.
Well, unless one of those teams really just drop out of sight for some.
Norm, even if they win 16 out of 20, they're still not going to get first place because you got to look. They win 16 out of 20. That means Tampa has got to win 4 out of 20 because they're 10, 12 games behind. So they're not getting first place. Then even to get second place, Baltimore is probably 7 or 8 games ahead of them. So even to catch second place, it's going to be very, very hard.
Well, also the problem, Joe, is the Yankees, Red Sox, Orioles, and Rays play against each other. So one team drops, one team picks up. So the Jays, catch up ground to one, but they lose ground or they don't get any ground on the other. That's also a big problem with the lesser games in the AL East.
In the Central Division, if the Blue Jays played in the Central Division, they would be tied for first.
Well, yeah. But so the AL East is always been a
worst, or what? Maybe how you look at it, it's the worst division. But in the other way, it's the best division.
It's the most competitive. And this year, because Baltimore's picked it up, there's no weaknesses. There's no weaknesses, right? And nobody who's a pushover.
And let's face it, if you take player by player from the Blue Jays, is Vlad doing his stuff? He has, 8, 9 home runs, 33, 34 RBIs. Bichette, okay, fielding-wise, he got better. Danny Johnson, gone. Kirk hasn't played up to snuff there. Manoah, you talked about Manoah. When Kikuchi is your second-best pitcher, he's the 5th pitcher in the rotation. You got problems there. When you pitch, like yesterday they won, when you pitch, look, but where's the offense? Where's the offense where you need offense? Even if when they win hard games. They're scrambling 3-1, 3-2 games. They don't blow these teams out like they did years back. And that's a problem because you're relying on your pitchers Gosman, great. Okay, he's been good. Bassett, up, down, but he's been good. Barrios has been better. Kikuchi, like I mentioned, but when your number one starter is 1-5 with an ERA of 5.85, and his fastball, like Marty said, and Billy, has gone down from 94, 95 to 91, 90.
Yeah.
And you're only, what is he, 26 years old? You got a big time problem.
So Joe, I gotta ask you this. So you, Billy, Marty had pretty intense discussions a couple of weeks ago about the offseason moves the Blue Jays made, but just strictly sticking to the baseball part of it. Whatever you think of those guys and their focus or not focus or their attitude, whatever it was, in retrospect, did they give up guys who were maybe important to the rest of the team, like in the clubhouse, even if they were having fun or somebody, some guys maybe thought they were having too much fun. But in retrospect, did they make a mistake or a big mistake? Did it hurt team chemistry?
I don't know, because we're not in the locker room. I don't know about chemistry. I know man for man, we don't have, we're batting the same thing, but we don't have home run power. Billy has always said he would like to Teoscar Hernandez here. Okay,
Yeah, that's
we
right.
got Varsho for he has always said he's very big on that. They lost, going to be a good catcher, hopefully, and all that. Gurriel, Billy's always been high on Gurriel, and Gurriel's smacking the ball in Arizona and all that. Varsho
Well, was Teoscar like a leader in the clubhouse? Maybe more important than okay, maybe Billy got that right in terms of his leadership and his importance.
All I can tell you is we weren't in the locker room, so we won't know. But all I can tell you is he was hitting home runs with the home run jacket. Vlad was better. Kirk was better. The Spanish contingent seemed to be more happier, but it looks like they wanted to take away tomfoolery. You know what I mean? With the jacket, with everything like that.
Okay, so now we've had some distance from the jacket and the joking around or whatever. But isn't a little bit or some of that? Isn't that true? Every team has stuff like that. The question is, as long as they do their job on the field, they want to have a little bit of fun. That's part of team chemistry. Am I right or wrong?
I know that was part of team. That is part of. And let's face it, with baseball, you play 162 games. Basketball, hockey is half that. You need more chemistry in baseball than anything, because you're going back to back to back to back to back, right? You're in hockey. You play some weeks. You play 2 games a week. Here you play 7 games, if not 6 games every week for the past 6 months.
So is it possible Atkins Shapiro misread that situation?
It's certainly possible that again, we're not in the locker room, so maybe they saw something in the locker room that they want to nip it in the bud. They wanted to change it. Okay, every team, every manager, every general manager goes in the locker room and is not happy. Okay, next year we're going to change it. Right now, we're almost in June. Would you say at the beginning of the year, in June, the Blue Jays are a 500 team?
Well, more importantly, I mean, at the bottom of the division, 2-8 in their last 10. And again, if this is April 30th, okay, slow start, it happens, right? But like I say, we're 6 weeks away from the All-Star break, for God's sakes. And Joe, I don't know what the stats are. I remember I've seen this for years on end, that the stats, like, historically show whatever the standings are, not all the time, but most of the time at the All-Star break, Joe, they're usually pretty close to that, pretty close. There's the odd, like Tampa Bay came back on Boston in 2008, the year they made the World Series, right? Okay, that happens sometimes, once in a while, but once every 5, 7, 10 years.
Yep.
But usually the numbers show the standings at the All-Star break are probably going to be pretty close to what they are at the end of the year. So I'm saying, considering we're only 6 weeks away from the All-Star break, I think Shapiro and Atkins better look pretty closely, because there's something that's just not working in that clubhouse. Is it the manager and some of the players, all the above, or I don't know?
I'll even say it. A good friend of mine, I think you know who he is, always told us during NHL, they look at their team.
Well, yeah, the U.S. Thanksgiving. That's right.
Now it's also today, like we talked about, it's
Memorial Day. Yeah.
So people are starting. I know I agree with the All-Star, but they start to look at their team on Memorial Day, heading into June to see what we need for July and the stretch run, July, August, September. So
Well,
now it's already Memorial Day. So somebody is in the Blue Jays locker room looking at, wow, okay, what can we do? We got to, because honestly, they have to shake it up. And like I said, me and Marty talked about this. I give it a week, 10 days, 2 weeks at the most. If they're still, like you said, 2-8 or 4-6 or something like that, it has to be, and not only a shakeup, I think it has to be a major shakeup, because you and I don't know about Schneider maybe getting fired, and you have Don Mattingly in the wings or whatever. But like I said, certainly Pete Walker has to be in the hot seat. Okay, Schneider's going to be in the hot seat because he's the manager, but something has to happen because they're not playing. I know they're in the toughest division. I know, but really, when you look at this at the start of the year, start almost June already, are they a 500 team? And they got to leapfrog Boston, Baltimore, Yankees, Tampa, that division, because I don't have to tell you, wild card is probably going to, the both wild cards are probably going to come out of the American League East. Yeah, like we said, they're not going to get first place,
yeah.
maybe
Well,
even not second.
look, I don't have the answer, but with Manoah underachieving compared to where we think he should be based on his skill, so the expectation to be the best pitcher on the team, the best starter on the team. Is it that simple? Just change the pitching coach, or is there what else is going on there? I mean, we talked about this with Marty. The change in the rules, the faster pitch. I mean, I don't think that's affecting Manoah, but I don't know that for sure.
Maybe it is, but like it's when Manoah's your first starter. Gosman's pitching good, Bassett's pitching good, Barrios is up and down. Kikuchi, really, nobody can expect, for everything you say about Manoah, we can't expect 1-5. We can't expect 5-2 right now for Kikuchi, right? So it's borderline. But also, you're talking about the hitting. Kirk, he's not even running out ground balls. Not even, that's what bothers Blue Jay fans. Okay, you're out. You don't get a hit, but run out the balls. Even go out to catch an easy ball, he doesn't catch it. But and Bichette, great hitting, sometimes lacks something on the field defensively, right? So it's like it's all a snowball here: pitching, hitting, defense. And what is it? Baseball: pitching, hitting, defense.
Yeah. Well, all right. I just want to cap off. Okay, we got a few minutes left, and we started just because of a technical glitch a little bit, so maybe we'll go 5 minutes or so. Or wait, you got to wrap it at 7, right, Joe? I just want to make sure
we'll go to 7:02, 7:03 then.
Okay, that's fine. So look, Billy will be back again. I'll remind folks he's working tonight at his job, right? So that's important. We all need a paycheck, right? But to be fair to Billy, in terms of, I mean, his reasons may have been different, but was he striking a chord in terms of, for whatever the reasons, the Blue Jays may have made a mistake moving the players they did, because maybe they were just, I'm not, you said, you're right. Myself, Billy, we're not in the clubhouse, but you look at the drop off in play, and again, we're at the start of June. Maybe, he was barking up the right tree, that the guys they moved were not the right ones to be moving.
He was, in hindsight, it looks like maybe he was barking up the right tree. And let's face it, like I said, the next 2 weeks will tell everything about the Blue Jays going forward for this season. And maybe for next season and all that, because we talked about renovations. They're still renovating at the end of this season. They have a high payroll. They're going to pay luxury tax. What do you do? Everybody wants Vlad. Everybody wants Bo Bichette. But anybody else on the Blue Jays, do people want? That's the other thing. Even if you're trying to make a trade, you take away.
Well, they're not gonna trade Vladdy. I mean, there's no way.
Okay,
no more than
they're not trading Vlad, Bichette. But who else can get you where you need to get? Do you trade Varsho? Well, do you trade Kiermaier? Do you trade Manoah?
Well, then they're not going to move. Kiermaier's played well, and they just got him. I mean, it's
who
like,
do you
but
trade?
okay,
That's
who?
what I'm
I'll
saying.
ask you, who would get you? Okay, let's say we agree, Guerrero, Kiermaier, at least those two for now, untouchables, right? Who else? You're not moving Alec Manoah, okay? So who else on that roster right now? And not talking about top prospects. I don't know who's going to get you something that you need.
That's the
Who are
problem.
you going to
That's
have to
what I've
give
been
up,
saying.
or who can you give up?
That's the problem, because you're talking about, is anybody going to take Kikuchi? Anybody going to take Barrios at $7 million? Jordan Romano, what can he, even if you want to give him up, what can he get you? Right? So you're stuck. And where's the farm team? They talk about if there's something good in the farm, why aren't they brought up yet? They don't have anybody in the farm, in AAA,
Well,
Double A.
they're probably not ready yet. That's the bottom line. They may be good at their level, but they're not. Being ready for the major leagues is a whole other story, right?
Yeah. So that's, if they don't get out of this funk right quickly, Blue Jays will have a terrible year. Terrible year, because that division is scary good. Scary good. So again,
Right.
the Blue Jays, they got to get out of that funk in the next, like I said, me and Marty talked about it, in the next 10 days to 2 weeks. They start tomorrow. They come back to the Rogers Center. 3 games against Milwaukee here. Milwaukee, not the best team. So am I going to say they got to sweep everybody? Never going to happen. They can't sweep. They can take series 2 out of 3, 2 out of 3, and start building. Because now when they start playing this week, Thursday, it's going to be June already. So that's the problem. Everybody talks about, me and Marty talked about it. It's early. It's early. It's early. It's early. It's early. Well, is it early? They're already 60 games in and a 162 game season. So almost halfway through the season.
Yeah, well, you're right. The clock is ticking, and I'm sure Shapiro and Atkins are starting to sweat it a little bit, and maybe the manager too. It's like, again, because of the reduced number of games within your division, they can't. They're going to have a hard time. They won't see again Tampa Bay and New York, two teams they have to make up ground on until late in the season, August or September or whatever. That's a long time, man. A lot going to happen between now and then. So it's going to be a very pressurized summer. I mean, they're lucky with I haven't been down there, but certainly all the additions they made to the Rogers Center, you don't have to be a hardcore baseball fan. You can enjoy. So some folks are just going to go down there and have fun. And, so I don't think they're worried about getting people into the building. And, summertime kids are off school, right? So they'll have enough people in the building, but it's going to be the story as well. What did they do at the end of the year? And if it's another disappointing season, people, Joe, start to say to themselves, well, what do I need to buy tickets for the whole year? I'll just go down and pick a few games I want. I can sit in the bar or sit wherever and just go down and see whoever I want instead of, spending all that money, right? That's where they can get tough with the Blue Jays.
Exactly. And the Blue Jays were counting. They're, like I said, they overspend. They're going to be in the salary cap limit or overtaxed. And then
luxury tax, yeah.
And they spent so much money renovating Rogers Center. They're hoping, they're thinking they're going to make the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs. And this year, maybe win a round, get to the ALCS or whatever. They never thought at this time they're going to be the last place team in their division, 500 team. So something has to happen. And
Joe, just one last point before we wrap it up. The Jays, what if, and this would be a horror, what if one of their big guys gets injured or a couple of them? Then not much you can do about that, Joe.
That's what I want to say, and we started this, an hour ago talking about what's wrong with Toronto teams. We talked about the Maple Leafs. We talked about TFC. Well, the Raptors got to get a new coach. Even kudos to Adrian Griffin getting the job with Milwaukee. And as we mentioned to start off the show, Nick Nurse in Philadelphia. So 2 of the Raptors coaches got other jobs, both in the Eastern Conference. I should mention that. Both in the Eastern Conference, Milwaukee and Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So things are going to get tougher even for the Raptors next year, but I digress. We'll talk about that next week and all that. Also here, don't forget, Norm, I got to get your pick because around 7:30, we're going to have the legend Digit Murphy previewing Game 6 between Dallas and Vegas here. Who's your pick for Dallas-Vegas Game 6? Again, Dallas down 3-0, and if they win tonight, They take it to Game 7 Wednesday. And no matter what, by the way, Norm, no matter what, Thursday starts the NBA Finals. Saturday starts the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, well, usually they're 2 weeks apart, so it's nice to have them competing at the same time, But anyway, we talk about great expansion teams, like San Jose was, Seattle is. Hey, Vegas is right up there in all-time NHL expansion history.
Vegas is the best.
It's remarkable what they've done.
They already made the Stanley Cup in the first
year.
year.
Yeah, so if they were to win this series, good chance. We'll see what happens. I'm not saying, sentimentally, it'd be great if Florida won. It'd be a great story. But yeah, so I'm going to give Vegas, with their experience and the strength of roster, I'm going to give them the edge to finish out the series. No disrespect to Dallas. And that maybe not, for all hockey fans across Canada, their favorite teams aren't playing. But still, you got to acknowledge what Florida has done as a Cinderella. And Vegas, what they've done since they joined the league. That could be Tkachuk and Bennett. That could turn out to be a really surprisingly very good series, Joe.
Yeah, and definitely the NHL probably wants Vegas and Florida.
Well, I don't know. Let's face it. If Florida were to win a Stanley Cup, you're not going to see very many empty seats there anymore, aside from the Snowbirds and the Canadians who buy tickets for it. And, let's face it, Rangers fans, everybody, they go down to Florida, they buy tickets to see their favorite club. So it's not like they're hurting for fans to come to the rink. They like some of their own, though. They win a cup, they ain't going to be a problem anymore. Trust me.
Norm, you see, so Bernie Hertzman.
It'd be big stuff for my good buddy Rick Dudley, the advisor to the Florida Panthers.
Norm, the guy there said, Bernie Hertzman says, good show yet again. After 20 years, I carry you once again here on the Fired Up Network. Go ahead, close it out, Norm.
All right. Well, big thanks again. By the way, Billy Georgiatsakis will be back next week. He's off at his job tonight. So look forward to having Billy back on. And, gave him some credit for his guesses and his comments on the Blue Jays. But anyway, he'll be back. And thanks to COSA, the Ontario Standardbred Horse Racing Association. Joe knows of my legendary experiences at Woodbine Racetrack with the dining room there and the Storm and Norman night at Woodbine. I love them for all time. They were behind me from the get-go when I started at the Fan. And here they are again, backing Billy and I and Joe. And so we're grateful to COSA and Nikki. That's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. The King of Carpets, big Habs fan, also a loyal sponsor. We're grateful to both of them. And Joe, of course, running the Fired Up Network with all its Tell us just very quickly, Joe. I know you got to run along, got other shows to do here, but tell us all the platforms where you can catch this show and the other shows.
On the audio side, 212 platforms, Iheartradio, Spotify, even Alexa, and now, Norm, I put your face on millions and millions of TVs, Android TV, Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, Samsung TV, Philips TV, you name it, we got it here on the Fired Up Network. All you need to do is download an app and watch us. Norm, I'm going to make you famous again.
Well, it'd help if you'd show my face.
That's why I'm going to make you famous. Norm Rumack is now Norm Faceless. Again, Rumack and the Greek will return Monday with Billy the Greek. And congratulations to Billy. Norm, he won another game for the East York Bulldogs. And this time he told me it wasn't the pitching coach. Well, then we'll have to have a Fired Up Network parade for the East York Bulldogs, Joe.
Yeah. Are you going to pay for that?
No, I know you're very generous with your Monopoly money, Joe.
On that note, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more great programming here on the Fired Up Network, including at 7:30, Digit Murphy and myself on the NHL Lowdown previewing Game 6 between Vegas and the Dallas Stars. Thanks a lot, Norm.